I've always been an artist my entire life. From the time I was a little kid, I used to draw and paint. My mother encouraged me. She used to take me to art museums, and she would draw with me sometimes. We moved around a lot, so in every new town that we moved to, she would figure out where the art museums were. We didn't go to galleries too much. I grew up in a working class family, and that was something totally outside of um, anything that we would think of doing. Um, but when I was in high school, we were living in Delaware, Dover, Delaware, and I met a great art teacher, Joseph Ferranto, who incidentally was also Robert Crumb's art teacher. He went to the same high school I did, a few years ahead of me. And he had less happy memories of that high school art class than I did. I thought it was fantastic and I learned a lot. And I spent some time in Philadelphia at Philadelphia College of Art, and I didn't graduate. I went to work right away after I got out of high school as a commercial artist. And I worked for about 6 years in the commercial art industry before deciding that art wasn't really of much use in the world, at least not as I was experiencing it at that time. And I became a registered nurse. I did that for 18 years, and I still painted during that time, but I painted just for me. And I didn't paint very much. I only painted 1 or 2 paintings a year, and then, sketching and small projects like that. And finally, after I moved to San Francisco about 20 years ago, I got back into it full time. And I've been working as a full-time artist for most of that time since I've been in San Francisco. It's a great place to be an artist. It's small enough that you can know most of the people in the art world here, and it's a pretty supportive atmosphere, and there's a lot of great art to see, and I've having a great life as an artist. Sometimes people ask me how art has changed my life, but that's really impossible for me to answer because art's always been a part of my life. I've been drawing and painting for as long as I can remember, from the time I was a small child. I always start my paintings on a white surface, a white gesso surface, usually canvas, sometimes clayboard, and I sketch the image out with a pencil, graphite, using photographic images as my source. I always take my own photographs because the bedrock of the image is the image that you see in your mind's eye, and if I use somebody else's photograph, it wouldn't be my image. But once I get to the actual painting of it, I do the pencil sketch, and then I go over the pencil lines with the red, what I call my ink drawing, but actually it's a very thin liquid acrylic. And the purpose of that is twofold. One is to anchor the pencil so that it doesn't come up later on when I'm scrubbing lots more layers over top of it, so I don't lose that line. And the other reason is because I just like the red. The red and my orange underpaintings are part of all of my paintings these days. It's just part of my signature look. And also I'm used to working with those colors, so I know what other colors I need to add to make something go a little bit warmer or a little cooler, what works well with the kind of underpainting that I'm most familiar with. In the beginning I experimented with a lot of different colors of underpainting, but this is the one I settled on as my favorite. So I'm going to finish inking this out, and then I'll show you the next step. Here's a small canvas where I finished the thin red acrylic lining covered over the pencil. It's had a chance to dry. And now we're ready to put the next layer of acrylic. It's a thin layer of a transparent orange, and I've thinned it down about 50-50 with acrylic glazing liquid. So I just scrub this in over the whole thing. Try not to leave too many obvious stroke marks, although it'll flatten out pretty well with this much glazing liquid in it. But I cover the entire canvas with an even coat of this color. Occasionally I'll try to get in a little bit of shading in an area that I know the painting is going to be exceptionally dark. I'll lay it on a little bit thicker. In an area that I know I want to have very light, I'll lighten it up a bit. But mostly it's all the same thickness. I'm just covering the entire canvas like this. This is my wall easel. This is where I usually work. I only work on the table when I'm working on tiny pieces or watercolors. This is a painting that I've been working on for quite a while, and it's in progress, and I've been using all the techniques that I showed you before. I've transferred the pencil sketch from my photo to the canvas. Then I did the red inking with the thin acrylic, covered the entire thing with orange. Then I started laying in local color, and then repeated layers of slightly differing colors depending on how I wanted to push or pull the color. For instance, this part of the wall, this back here, and this wall, they all had the same light tan color when I started, but then they've shifted a little bit from the greenish and the darker and lighter tones depending on the different very thin colors of glaze that I put over them.